To the Kansas Chamber of Commerce. I want to thank the mayor and councilman from Wichita. This is a beautiful city and I love Wichita. So thank you very much for your hospitality. And this Sunrise Christian Elementary Chorus, outstanding. I am so proud to be an American. I am so proud that we have young people like this that show their enthusiasm and support for America and for what this country stands for. And it's great to be here. I'm so glad to be home. It was wonderful to represent our country in China for 3 years and 4 months, longer than the previous 3 ambassadors. But I'm glad to be back. And I'm especially glad to be here at this kind of event and to see the wonderful people of Kansas, your friendship and hospitality. And I want to especially thank Dr. Terry and Paula Lowry for hosting us. Eric and I are staying here at the castle tonight, and we are so impressed. Now, I lived in a kind of a castle, a place called Terrace Hill, which is a Victorian mansion built in Des Moines, Iowa between 1866 and 69. And I lived there for 22 years and 4 months as the longest serving governor in Iowa and American history. But it's a special treat to be here and to see this wonderfully restored place that the Lowrys have put so much effort into, and to see such a enthusiastic and wonderful group of people that have assembled. I want you to know I love America, and it was an honor to that the President of the United States asked me to be the ambassador to China. China is the biggest country in the world. They are second only to the United States in terms of their gross national product, and they are clearly our rival and competitor for leadership in the world today. Their system is much different than ours. They're a one-party totalitarian nation. But I gotta tell you, I love the Chinese people. The Chinese people have a tremendous work ethic. They are strongly committed to the education of their children, and they're very family oriented, and I can tell you they treated us very well. My first trip to China, well, first of all, I was elected governor in '82 when I was only 35 years old. I became governor I had a birthday between the election and the inauguration, so I was 36 when I became governor. And very first year, I signed a sister state agreement with the Hebei province of China. Hebei is a province that surrounds Beijing. And Governor Zhang Shuguang, and he looked like an Iowa farmer out of the 1950s. But he came to Des Moines and we signed the agreement, and he invited me to bring a delegation to China the next year. And I did. We had 50 people, one of our biggest trade delegations. And we opened a trade office in Hong Kong. We went to Beijing. We rode an old steam locomotive from Beijing to Zhejiang, the capital of Hebei province. And they met us at the train depot with a band and presented my wife with a big bouquet of flowers, and we were very warmly welcomed. We were there for the 35th anniversary of the founding of the People's Republic. And then I was ambassador for the 70th anniversary of the founding of the People's Republic. But it was really interesting because going to China in 1984 was like going back in time. There were no tall buildings. Everybody's riding bicycles, and they're still wearing the old Mao type uniforms. Things have changed a lot. Today in Beijing, they have more luxury cars than I've seen in any American city. They've got more billionaires than we have in America. China has changed a lot. There's still bicycles and motor scooters, but there's a whole lot of automobiles. And they, you know, my wife and I are Catholic, and we went to Mass at the Canadian Embassy, and it was in both English and French. But going to the embassy, we went by a Lamborghini dealership, a Rolls Royce dealership, and a, I don't know, one other one. One other luxury car. No, it wasn't Cadillac. These are much bigger than Cadillac. So it was, anyway, I can tell you that it was an honor to serve. It was a challenging time to be there. First of all, I want to say that it was an honor to serve as governor of Iowa. And I got to know Bob Dole really well. We used to call him the third senator from Iowa, in addition to being your Kansas senator. He ran for president a couple times. He spent a lot of time in Iowa. Great supporter of agriculture and renewable energy, and we had a wonderful, wonderful time with him. Excuse me, I'll get a little water here. So, I served 16 years, and then I had a 12-year sabbatical. I was president of a medical school in Des Moines, and a couple of law students at Drake University who weren't old enough to vote when I was governor before, but they started a movement on Facebook, which didn't exist when I was governor before. And they got 10,000 people to sign up to ask me to come back and run for governor again. Now, the governor pays only a third as much as the president of Des Moines University paid. So my wife thought I was totally crazy, but I loved Iowa so much and I wanted to do it again, and I came back and I won 2 more terms. And it was a great honor to serve. Interestingly enough, one of the people that's in the audience served as a department head for me in a couple of different positions. Cynthia Eisenhower. Cynthia, where are you? So Cynthia served me, and then for my successor, Governor Vilsack, she was the chief of staff and director of the Department of Management as the chief state fiscal officer. I appointed her husband as a district court judge, and Governor Vilsack appointed him to the Court of Appeals. So, and of course, Eisenhower's a good Kansas name. Yeah. So, anyway, when I heard Cynthia called me today and said she's going to be here, and I was really honored and pleased that she's joining us. And pleased so many of you came out in such a beautiful evening. And I want you to know that it was a great honor to serve as governor and president. And of course, my son Eric deserves the credit for being the director of President Trump's 2 campaigns in Iowa. And Iowa is a state that had only gone once for a Republican since Reagan, and that was Bush's second term, and only by 10,000 votes. But my son Eric was chosen to be the director for Trump's campaign in 2016, and he won 93 of the 99 counties, won the state by over 9%. And then in 2020, he did it again. He carried 93 of the 99 counties and won the state by a big margin. It helped us as we have built a stronger Republican base in the legislature. We now have 2 Republican women representing eastern Iowa. It used to be a Democratic stronghold. And we you know, get into that much politics, but it's been most of my life. But when the president asked me to be ambassador to China, I knew just as governor, we tried to be very focused, and we had a very focused agenda. And the first thing that we had to deal with was the North Korean nuclear threat. You may remember back in 2016 and 17, they were doing nuclear tests and firing missiles, long-range missiles, into the Pacific Ocean with threats that they would actually attack the United States. And I'm proud to say that President Trump made the effort to get to know Kim Jong-un and meet with them, and at least we wanted to denuclearize North Korea and to work with China to do so. And China does support the denuclearization, and they don't want to have North Korea involved in a nuclear war because they know they would be inundated with refugees, and they're right next door. They're afraid they could be a target as well. So we worked with them on that issue. I was in Tumen, that's in northern China, right on the border with North Korea, 3 days after the last nuclear test. And I'm proud to say there hasn't been any more. There have been some short-range missiles, but there hasn't been more long-range. In addition to that, as I went through confirmation, and the president appointed me on the very first day that he was in office, and then I had to go through confirmation to the Senate Foreign Relations Committee and the full Senate. And as I talked, and I personally met with just about every member of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, Republicans and Democrats, and I heard from them, every one of them, we are very concerned about the death toll from fentanyl in our states, and it originates in China. And we want you to do something about that. And so we had congressional delegations come over, and I told them, let's focus on fentanyl and see if we can get the Chinese leadership to make all of fentanyl a controlled substance in China. Because when China, their laws are tough. And once they make something a crime, all of a sudden it helps dry it up. And so I'm proud to say Lamar Alexander led a congressional team. We pushed for that. I then went to the Oval Office and I asked President Trump, when you meet with Xi Jinping in Buenos Aires, ask him to make fentanyl a controlled substance. He did. And they did. May 1, 2019, fentanyl was made a controlled substance, and it's reduced the direct shipment of fentanyl. We know some fentanyl still comes through the, the drug cartels in Mexico and other places, but the direct shipments from China have virtually dried up. And then the big issue, of course, was trade. And we helped China become a member of the WTO back in 2001. And they promised they would liberalize, that they would reform and open up. And we were very hopeful, but one administration after another failed to get China to fulfill the commitments and promises they made. President Trump came in with a commitment that we had to have fairness and reciprocity in trade. And he did something that was tough for us in the Midwest, and that is he put tariffs on China. And they, of course, did as we thought they would do. They retaliated against American farmers. But that got their attention, and it got them to the negotiation table for what turned out to be this Phase 1 trade agreement. And being back in my home state of Iowa today, I can tell you, we are now experiencing record levels of corn and soybeans. Pork prices are good. We're selling them beef and chicken again. And a lot of that is because of the courage and tenacity of the president, of his, of Ambassador Lighthizer, who negotiated the agreement. It was a tough, long battle, but they have purchased record amounts of corn and soybeans. And the last thing that I wanted to happen before I left, they hadn't made the purchases they promised of ethanol, and now they have. They have just in recent weeks made record purchases of ethanol, and it's making a real difference for the 40-some ethanol plants we have in my state. So I'm very appreciative of the progress we made. And I want you to know, Mike Pompeo did a fantastic job as the Secretary of State, because the ambassador reports directly to the Secretary of State. The ambassador is the chief of